This is the Festool parallel guide system, and today we're going to set it up, we're going to calibrate it, and we're going to use it. Stick around, here's the jingle. The parallel guides come in two kits, the FSPA, which is this set here, and the FSPA VL, which is this smaller set here. The larger set comes with two parallel guides, two brackets for attaching to your Festool rail, and two stops for setting the distance. And it also comes with a single sheet, or mine certainly did, a single sheet with a diagram of the system. The FSPA VL comes with two brackets, including those curved angled pieces, and two knobs for securing the VL kit to the FSPA kit. And this comes with slightly more comprehensive instructions in the form of this leaflet, which is pretty much picture driven, multilingual picture driven. And to be honest, both of these bits of paper are pretty useless when it comes to setting up the system. If you don't know what the system's for, you use it in conjunction with something like the TS55 and the Festool rail system. And it allows you to line this edge up here, your cutting edge on your rail, parallel to the length or the width of a panel, and therefore you can quickly rip or cross-cut the panel to size. And because this fixes a certain size, that's a repeatable cut. Speed, accuracy, usual things you'd find in Festool. The guides are easy to fit. They simply attach to this part of the rail here. This metal captive nut here slides under this rail, and this bracket slides on top of this rail. Once it's sorted, once it's slid on, there is a green lever at the back, cam lever, and you simply click that into place, tighten down the knob, and that's it. That is then set. You then do the same with the other one. Slide that onto there, slide the metal protrusion into the rail and slide it down. Now what you're doing here is you're setting these two rails to the width of the material. So if I wanted to trim down this piece of wood, I would set the rails to the width of that material. I would then set this line here to the width I want to cut, and that's simply these brackets. They slide into the rail here, and they slide down to the width. So if I wanted to make a cut of, I don't know, say 220, I would set those to 220. I'll bring the second one in, and I would set that one to 220. Then I'd slide my material in to those stops, make a cut, and that would then be 220 long in terms of the panel cut. Every piece of wood I then slide in after that also cut across there, so everything will come out 220. And that's it. That's all there is to the parallel guide system. Like most things though, you need to calibrate it to your rail. So just because I've set this at 220 doesn't necessarily mean that the distance from my stop to where my cut is 220. So we need to go ahead and we need to set that. Easiest way of doing it is with a measure. Take your measure to the end so it's resting flush onto the stop, and then measure to the end of your splinter guard. Remember, that cuts exactly on your splinter guard because you trimmed that down before when we use a TS55. So measure to that point there, and you now want to adjust this so that distance is, in our case, exactly 220 long. To do that, you undo this green knob, you slacken off this screw a couple of turns, don't just take it out, and we loosen the cam on the bottom. Now that allows this rail to slide, you can see that, slide back and two. So now bring it in and set this to 100 to 220. And that's about there, and then lock the nut down, stop it moving, lock the green knob down. You've now secured it, check your measurement, 220, and then lock the cam down. And that's that one calibrated. You now need to calibrate the second one. Now, you could use exactly the same technique, but what I want to do is to make sure that 220 here is the same as 220 here. So I know that these two stops are always parallel to the zero cut of the splinter guard. So the way I'm going to do that, loosen off the cam at the back, release the green knob and slide it up until the cams touch, like that. Then I'm going to make sure that this one is set at exactly 220 on my gauge. And then what I'm looking for is for these two stops to be perfectly lined up, and at the moment they aren't. So loosen off the knob, sorry, the screw, loosen off the knob, the clamp's already loose on the back, and now I can slide this one up and down so it's perfectly aligned on that reference edge there. And that's pretty good. And now I can lock that down. Tighten that up. And that's it, we're good to go. So they are now set up and they are now calibrated. Once these are calibrated, they're then really easy to use, and you've only got to calibrate them once. Probably worthwhile checking now and then like most tools, but once it's set, it's set. I want to take this board that's currently about 607 millimeters wide, and I want to bring it down to exactly 600 millimeters. First thing I do, lock this at the end of the rail because I know this rail just about fits, and I want to set this to 600 millimeters on my scale. Lock that down. I can then reference this on the end of the material. I then take the second rail and slide it down its end, reference this lock as well onto 600 millimeters, which is there, and slide this one to the end and just set the width of the wood. Tighten down, the green knob, tighten down the cam. Make sure everything's tight, tighten down the cam, and then just pull the clamp forward, pull the rail forward, and that distance now between this back edge and this front edge here is exactly 600 millimeters. So I can come with my T55 track saw and I can now trim this down and the board will be 600 millimeters. And with that set up, every subsequent board that I cut will be exactly 600 millimeters. Because we've calibrated this and set these up, it will also be parallel to this edge. So the entire thing will be 600 millimeters throughout its length. And that's what the parallel guide does. Let's cut it, see how it works. So this has worked, then this should now be exactly 600 millimeters. There you have it. 600, 600, and that's a parallel guide.